Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are around the world, around the city, around the state. My name is Dr. Teresa Canada. I'm your host, and welcome to another episode of the Silk Stocking Sisters podcast. Today, I have a special guest. As you all know, I have special guests, and they're all special. Mr. Cedric Turner. He is a person of great knowledge and great enthusiasm who experienced integration in the Boston Public Schools, to say one. And he's going to share with us, as you know, I talk about different issues on this podcast, and this is one specifically in the North and Midwest, and this is, of course, in Boston. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Cedric Turner. He's the executive director and founder of Empire Yourself in Massachusetts. Welcome, Mr. Turner.
Welcome then. It is a real honor, Dr. Canada.
Thank you for sharing your time with us this day. And hopefully you can just kind of give us a little insight about your experience, because you and I both know someone who was the principal at the time, and you can share something about that discussion as well, and your high school, and tell us about the high school, the name of your high school, and just overall, let's start from there, and then build up into your current position. So let's start back from your high school days and what that experience was like and what time period that was. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, sure. I mean, it kind of seems like a million, if it was years ago. And I remember when I was back in my, in fact, the early days, I went to English high school, Boston English, which at that time was the pre type of mirror school, right in Boston.
Right.
Everybody wanted to go to English, so they went to Latin. At that time, every single school was, and this is what people do not know, every single school had its own type of specialization. So if you was wanted to fix cars or be a type of auto mechanic,
Right.
or build houses, you went up to the trade school.
Okay.
If you kind of wanted to go into what electrical work, you went up there to Charlestown. If that you wanted to do, whatever type of other field, you went to either Southie or Hyde Park. So
Okay.
every school has, if that you wanted to go right into a type of college, you either went to English or you went to Latin.
Okay, so you're saying English high school was the one where you attended, and that was basically strictly academic high school per se.
Right. Well, it was until they changed it. So English was on par with Latin school. Boston, in fact, was Latin still, in fact, to this day, it's one of the top schools inside the type of nation, never even mind inside that type of country.
Okay.
It is probably one of the few schools that is all AP and IB.
All right. So advanced placement exams. Okay.
Yeah, they don't have regular classes at Latin. It's all AP or IB, which is why that they feed the Ivy League schools so
Gotcha.
much. But at that time when I was with middle school, it was a neighborhoods. Boston was about neighborhoods. So everyone basically walked to school.
Okay.
So let me just get this whole backdrop. If you lived inside what Mattapan, where I lived, I basically walking to school was like a 10-minute walk, but it was a 10-minute walk for everybody.
You mean whenever people went to the schools, their schools was close enough they could actually walk to, as opposed to having taken buses
Exactly.
a mile or something and so forth, correct?
Right, exactly. So if you lived in Southie, you walked to school. Wherever that you live, you walked.
Okay.
So we didn't have any busing or anything like that. And people kind of loved it. The parents loved it. The kids loved it, because you could walk to school and you could walk home. parents did not have to leave work in the middle of the afternoon, like just like they have to do right now
Yes.
to have their kids picked up. I mean, it
Right.
is the craziest thing that schools is out at kind of like 2 o'clock,
Right.
and nobody's work is out at 2.
Right.
So it's a major in type of convenience
Right.
for the type of parents
Okay. Okay.
um, who have to line up at 2.
Right.
So what happened was people had complained. A lot of parents, black parents, complained
Right.
because they had felt that a lot of the type of mud type materials, and this part is very very important. They in fact were not in fact come type of complaining about the type of fact that they wanted our kids to be in school with white kids. That wasn't the type of complaint
Okay.
that
That wasn't
they
an issue per se, you're saying.
right, that wasn't the issue that went to the court.
Okay.
The type of complaint was read type of sources. So,
In terms of what was
so
being offered in the schools, is that the
right,
key?
so it was like, the schools in the white area had more type of read type of sources than the
Mm,
schools in the black area.
gotcha.
Because,
Gotcha.
even though we had neighborhood schools, keep in mind right inside Boston at that time,
Right.
we was the most type of which in fact was segregated
Segregated. Mhm,
in fact
mhm, mhm.
city inside the
Yeah.
the whole the
Right.
whole country.
Exactly. People don't realize that. That was it. But let me just add this emphasis. This was like in the 1970s, correct?
1973.
Okay. 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 Give people a frame of reference. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. So now you attended your neighborhood middle school, but then the transition took place as you were going towards high school. Is that correct?
through high school. So my type of freshman year in high school was was the very first year right off busing.
Okay, now with this now see, I gotta think of Frank because now when you talk about middle school, high school, because see, when I went to school with junior high school, it wasn't even called, it was called junior high school. It was from 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then high school was 10th, 11th, and 12th. Now, for you, was high school starting in the ninth grade? Was it starting in the 10th grade?
Wow, that's a very, very good question. I'm very, very glad you asked that. All
Okay.
right. So in the uh prior to prior to 1973,
Okay.
the high school started inside the 10th grade.
Okay.
Middle school went from 6th grade until ninth,
Right. Okay.
right?
Okay.
But then for English high school only, they had said the high school is going to start in ninth grade. Right. So that changed the whole type of dynamics
Okay.
of the
Okay.
the type of school.
And that was the first time they decided to do that transition
Right.
that
So
very
they had
early.
said now no other school at that time started because high school started in the 10th grade. It gave the kids time to kind of like mature and get ready
Right.
for
Right.
high school. But they said, no, we're going to start school here in the ninth
Was
grade.
it only that high school that
It
started it?
was only English high.
Oh,
It was
that's
only
interesting.
English high because keep in mind, English high was right across the street from Latin,
It was?
right across the street.
Oh my
So Latin was our rivals. It was right across the street. For whatever reason, they changed it from ninth grade to 10th grade. They changed the whole type of dynamics. They started tinkering around with a lot of the programs, the dress
right,
codes,
right, right,
and all that stuff. So English went from a was a model type of school.
right.
You ever see that movie Lean on Me?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All
Like
right. So when I
yeah,
first saw that movie, like the opening parts where the in fact, everything is going and it was hoodlums was everywhere.
right, right.
I had thought that was about English. I said, "Oh wow, they made a movie about us."
Mr. Turner, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Are you saying to me now? See, this is giving me another viewpoint about the school because I wanted to get some indication of what this. So basically, you're saying to me, English high school was a predominantly Black school.
Wasn't always. Wasn't always. So they had English high school used to be 60, 40 white and also Black.
Okay, that was prior to your.
Because it was a type of citywide school.
Okay, anybody can go to the city.
Anyone could go. When they had changed it, when they changed it, it wasn't only them changing going into high school from 10th grade to ninth grade. They also stopped it from being a citywide school. There was a lot of stuff that they did to basically say, all right, we are going to turn this into an all black school.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so basically, you were attending. Okay, now your neighborhood middle schools were where people live. So basically, that's basically
that was yeah. It was like whoever had lived within a 2.5 mile radius of the
of a specific school,
middle school,
went to school.
Right. So we had ourselves quite a few whites in my middle school.
Okay.
Because up in Mattapan, where I lived, you had a lot of white type of
families.
Okay. So we didn't have. I mean, it was probably, I don't know. My middle school was mostly all Blacks, which probably 80%.
Okay.
In fact, with Black. But we had ourselves a dress code.
Right.
So you could not wear sneakers and jeans.
Okay.
You had to wear a certain type. Principals and teachers ran that school. So at that time, if I'm putting some age on myself, we had teachers who they
couldn't do it now, though, right, Mr.
No, they will wind up inside jail now. I mean, I saw one kid. He had gave a teacher some lip, and he said, "Oh, so you're up there grown now, huh?" And now this dude was like 6'3", 245 pounds of muscle, and this was in the 8th grade.
Oh my goodness!
So we took the whole class to, in fact, what the type of gym.
Okay.
Opened up the cage, took out some type of gloves, boxing gloves.
Wow.
Said, "You and I gonna fight."
That's tough.
And he whooped his ass.
Wow. Well, I'm telling you, couldn't do that now for sure.
Could not do it too. That did now. But I mean, I'm just saying, and the interesting part is, like, you'll probably tell, I was never a fan of that type of busing at all. I was never a fan of it.
Okay.
None of us were. We didn't see a reason in terms of it. It just did not make a lot of sense.
But that was the decision that was made from the city, correct?
No, that was the type of judge. So Judge up there, Garrity, when these parents filed the type of case.
Okay, just give us a little background, because I didn't know the details about the case. This was like in the early 1970s, right?
Yep. So a case was filed about to having the access to nicer learning materials.
Okay.
Judge up there, Clarity did not read it like that.
Okay.
He had it read as a type of access case.
Oh, okay. Access.
So we basically said, so when they said to him years, in fact, later, look, how come you just did not say to, in fact, the school committee, you have to give these kids in fact, the black in fact community the same type of resources you give to kids in the white community.
Gotcha.
His type of answer was that there wasn't in fact the case in in type of front end.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's how he had it ready. He said, well, that wasn't the case. He said the case was about the access and black kids going to school with white kids.
Oh.
So somehow he got that all wrong.
Okay. Okay. So
Um,
what was the impression of parents? What was the parents' role at that stage in terms of the decision that was taking place?
well, the type of parents just kind of wanted our kids to have a type of equal education. Parents wasn't talking about, we want our kids to be rubbing elbows with white kids. That wasn't where
It-
parents were
okay.
at all.
They just want a better opportunity for you to have the resources and better than
Right,
anybody else quality education. Correct.
right. So, but once it kind of got into Joseph A. Gary's hands,
Right. Right.
then it was out of everyone else's hands.
Gotcha.
He
Gotcha.
was, I mean, what he said was like it. So, and even though people like, for example, our person, Doctor, in fact, with Robert S. Pittman, Hillman, and also others went to him several times
Mhm.
and said, "Look, this is kind of ripping apart the
Mhm.
type of city.
Okay. Okay.
And you have to have it, in fact, stopped." And he wouldn't.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and it was ripping apart the city. There was violence every
Well,
day. A lot of people got hurt. Some people probably got killed. It was at a
so
time
that
that
process made this there was uproar in the city during that era. Correct.
it just ripped on apart the whole town. It just
Okay.
ripped
Okay.
it had opened up wounds that maybe was there, but it was a big old type of band-aid on it.
Okay.
Basically, what they did was took off that did with the band-aid,
And then just became an uproar.
and it became a type of uproar. And so it became no one was really looking at the education. It was a lot of people was making money off of the type of buses. So you had people being kind of like bus, you know, the halfway. And then here is the interesting thing is, right? None of the exam schools was was involved. So Latin wasn't involved. Boston Latin in fact Academy, which was all girls.
Mhm.
Boston in fact Tech and West type of Roxbury High School were not involved. So West type of Roxbury High School was a school that was in West type of Roxbury,
But
which
wasn't
was a
that a predominantly black community, wasn't it?
Oh no, it was mostly all white. It was out there near type of Dedham,
Okay.
but they did not want their kids to be bused, so they did not. So I'm saying, but all of those schools was here's the interesting part.
Okay.
All of those schools was a part of the type of Boston schools, but it
Right.
was a type of carve out. So they carved out those four schools because
Oh.
those were our four best schools, and they said we are going to only involve poor black schools and poor white schools.
So that's that's how they defined it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
so they didn't say that, but that was who was involved because
Thank you.
going over there to, in fact, Charlestown High School or Southie or East Boston or Hyde Park wasn't a type of prize. I mean, they had rats at Southie High, larger than you and I. I mean, it was. I mean, that school was an absolute wasn't a prize at all.
Okay.
So basically, the way I see it, it was just a real game that was
Yeah.
played.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
had put poor whites against poor blacks,
Okay.
and just watch those their flames.
See what was happening.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that that sounds very fun type of familiar. Where have I seen that before? Is that still happening? Poor blacks fighting against poor whites. Wow. So
Interesting dynamic. Interesting dynamic.
that is basically and the kids that boys Latin, girls Latin. The exam schools were not involved at all.
Okay, so it was really specific sections of schools that were identified as part of this process. Well, that's very revealing. I wasn't unaware, and thank you for sharing that with the audience. I mean, I think that people need to know this information because they have these assumptions unless someone like you is able to express it from a personal perspective. Now, this is why I try to have the podcast so people can individually hear from someone who can tell you the real deal, in a
Mhm.
sense, as opposed to what they may have read that may not have been exactly what it is. So I know we're moving on a little bit here. I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I want you, can you basically just give me a summary of, in terms of how you felt that experience impacted you in your life and your career and what you're doing now? Can you give us a little summary about that?
Sure. So the interesting thing is, in terms of me, is my type of education in what middle school was so good. Now, keep in mind, in middle school at that time, I had in middle school and high school, I had one in fact black teacher.
Oh, okay.
So I had zero in with middle school. I
Right.
had no type of black teachers at all.
Okay.
But I had a wonderful education.
Mhm.
I had math for back to back periods and a lot of science classes. And the reason I have that set is because my type of first year at English was a wash. It was like done.
Oh,
Because
really?
oh yeah, because there was so much
Right,
turmoil.
turmoil. Yeah. So
It
you
was
really
so
didn't get
much
educated, quote unquote. Yeah.
yeah, it was so much turmoil. There wasn't any learning.
Okay.
And then in my was sophomore year, in fact, October, in fact, Peterkin Peterkin came in,
Oh,
and at that time he was the first, in
I-
fact, the African American principal,
of a
and
high school. Yeah.
right inside with no right inside Boston,
Okay.
and inside the actual state. So he was
Oh.
the first African American. So he had came in and he saved all of us because just like that you seen in the movie Lean on Lean on Me,
Mhm.
where that Joe in fact Clark lined up
Right.
all of those
Right.
kids on right on the stage,
Right.
and he said, "All of you guys are gone." Well, the first day of school, we all jump off the bus, and we see this guy standing inside the doorway with all these here cops and cops and teachers, and they all had pads of paper. And as you coming in, you had to have them gave your name. And
Right.
if that your name was on that their list, you was either X type of spelled right on that their spot, or that the in fact O type of lease, they had you taken right into that type of custody.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So he
Wow.
he had expelled a couple of thousand kids in one day.
Wow. That's
He,
huge.
he
That's
just said, "I'm just gonna, I am not gonna do it
it's
piecemeal.
real.
I
Right.
am going
Right.
to get rid of all the riffraff in one swoop."
And
And,
start from there.
and that's what he did, and he cleaned up English in short order.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's
and
yeah. That's
and
Bob Peter can bring you. Yeah.
so by the by by the time of my which is senior year, we
Uh-huh.
was having more kids sent off right into in fact the college to which Latin.
Fantastic. But that shows you, see, I'm glad you shared that with us because that says to you the ability of excellent leadership and to be able to, direct the school and be able to have the students be able to still excel. See, that's
Right.
important. That's
I
important.
I mean, right now, I mean, he was called in town by the mayor's office and the school committee saying that what you're doing is not even legal and you have to let those kids back in school. And he says, no, he says, these kids have no intention to go to school, to go to class, to graduate. And he says, my job is to look out right after the kids to do.
Good.
That is the same way I run my type of program now.
Okay. Well,
No.
tell me very quickly about your program because we only have like a couple of minutes left, and I want you to just give us a little bit about what you're doing with your program, and so forth. And like I said, you're the executive director and you're founder. So just give us a brief of
Yeah.
the background on that.
Yeah. Empower yourself. Um, we basically our type of motto and our goal is teaching the next type of way with generation of kind of come type of community, business, and corporate and global leaders. That is what do we do, and we have it done by us teaching the economic and fight type of natural which is literacy,
Okay.
and also teaching about the earth type of careers and also the jobs right of the type of future, which is going to be right around the type of STEM. So everything about the type of future is such kind of like saying to our kids, this is something you have to know. You really need to know about STEM. You need to about engineering, about science, about
Right.
nanotech type of knowledge, all that stuff. But at the same time, one of the things that has always kept us back was a lack of type of knowledge about economics and five type of natural, which
Financial. Right. Okay. And that's an emphasis for your program.
right. So we have them both taught to our kids in middle school and high school year around side by side. So our
Sure.
program's not for everybody because it is hard.
Mhm.
And I get kids saying that, hey, this is too hard and I have a life. I'm like, well, it's a free country.
But if you're not able to deal with, see you later, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a free country. We're not going to, if you feel it's so I understand it's not, but for the most part,
Right.
we have our kids used to working very, very hard,
Right.
and they absolutely would love it.
Okay. Well, that sounds fantastic. Mr. Turner, thank you so much, for what you're doing with your young people and what you've been doing over the years and trying to enhance their experience in terms of the financial aspects and, different kinds of futuristic kinds of financial and economic kinds of growth. And I think that's an extension of what your experience was, with the challenges with when you attended English high school and you say, okay, here's another challenge. So I
Right.
commend you for the things that you've been involved in post English high school, all the things you've been involved in, and how you're now serving as a leader, which I think is a compliment to what took place under the tutelage of Dr. Peterkin. I think that's fantastic. So, without further ado, I wanted to say to my life, here's another fantastic guest who
Mhm.
talked about his experience and what can be accomplished through the experiences that one has and how this has taken place in the Northeast, in Boston, specifically in the city of Boston, Massachusetts. And I welcome you to reach out to me if you want to get in touch with Mr. Turner and learn more about what he does in Boston. And until next time, have a great day, great evening, wherever you are around the world. And thank you for coming to another episode of the Silk Stocking Sisters. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Have a
Thank
great
you
day
guys.
now.
Talk to you anytime.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye bye.